Okay, we are in Shmuel Aleph, chapter 6, verse 10. Again, we're talking about the men of the Pelishtim, the Kohani Pelishtim, the priests of the Pelishtim have told the people that they should put the 5 golden mice, 5 golden hemorrhoids on top on the wagon that is bringing the ark back. You should hook it up with 2 milk cows, and their calves should be left at home, so they're going to move for their mothers, and the mothers would want to be with their children. If the wagon goes with and these milk cows have never been pulling a wagon, they've never had a, what do you call it, a harness, not a harness, a yoke on them. They've never had a yoke on them, so they're not used to pulling a wagon, and it's a new wagon, which means it's even harder to pull than an old wagon, because the old wagon is used to moving. The new wagon it has to be broken in, as it were. Fine, we talked about that last week. So the test is, if the wagon goes to Beit Shemesh, straight to Beit Shemesh, so then they know that that the plague that the Philistines underwent was a direct cause of God, because they took the ark and so on and so forth. If, on the other hand, the wagon does not go directly back to Beit Shemesh, but rather stands there, so then the plagues were brought by God. No question about the plagues being brought by God, according to the Malbim, but the cause was not because of the ark, but rather because of some other sin that the Pelishtim were committing. Remember that? That's what we said last week. Okay? So now we're at 10. So it says, V'yasu anushim kain, so the men did what the Kohani Pelishtim, the priests of the Pelishtim, said. V'chushtei parot alot, and they took 2 nursing cows, V'yasum ba'agala, and they tied it or bound it to the wagon. V'yapeneim kalu b'bayit, and the young calves they put in their homes. Again, in other words, they shut up in the house. Again, the reason being that if the cow is going to move after the mother will not want to leave. The Malbim, where's Malbim? Oh, we did that. Oh, okay, fine. So now, number 11. So they put the Aron of Hashem on the wagon, Vieta Argos, and also the box, Vieta Achvare Hazahav, and the golden mice, Viet Salme Techorehem, and also it's interesting, I didn't change that word. And also the 5 the golden hemorrhoids, or the images of the hemorrhoids. Sorry, and that. Okay, and then what happens? Vayisharna haparot 12. Vayisharna haparot b'derech. So now the cows went straight from Yashar, went straight on the way. Al derech Beit Shemesh, on the way to Beit Shemesh. B'mesila achad, in one path. Halchu haloch v'ga'o v'losaru yamin usmol. They went, and lowing as they went, and they did not turn to the right or to the left. V'sarnei Pelishtim holchem acharehem, and the officers of the Pelishtim went after them. Ad gevul Beit Shemesh, until the border of Beit Shemesh. So the Malbim says, Vayisharna, they went straight. Siper shahu bezeh kama palaim. The Tanakh is telling us many wondrous things. One, Shiyisharna, that they went straight. Because the place that where the cows stood there, they were near a house that was far from the path. And they turned and they went on the path. El Sada Batim also they could have turned on their way to go to the house or to the fields. And they went right on the path. So again, the cows have a lot of ways they can go. They can start eating. They can go to the house. There's a lot of things they could do, and yet they go straight to the highway, as it were. So number 2, al derech Beit Shemesh, ki achar, on the way to Beit Shemesh, ki achar shegiu el haderech. Because now, once they've reached the road, so now they can go front or they can go backwards, or el sad Pelishtim, or to the side for the Pelishtim. But rather, they chose to go to the east toward Beit Shemesh, and they went in one path. Ki al derech yesh bo kama mesilot. When you're going on the road, apparently there's many places that are trampled already. That would because people are walking there. And normally animals will go going back and forth between these places. That's just normal, it says. But they went in one path. Then they're going and they're lowing. They were going, and as it were, the rabbi said they were singing. Ki hadavar polaiv ha'ma'id el gachad Hashem. Oh, I'm sorry, not that they were singing, but they said Shira, they said songs of praise, because this thing was a wondrous thing that testified about the hashgacha of Hashem, the supervision of Hashem, hu ashir ha'olam b'briyotav. This is a song that goes up from His creation, Sha'ayidei Yukaru Alilotav Niflotav, because it was the cows doing okay. Because since the cows recognized their creator, so they did these things. Velo Sarum Yamin Ismol, they didn't turn to the right or left. Ki Derech Mitakem Lifamim Makom Salaem Barachsim, because sometimes the way, when you're going in the way, you have things in the road, so rocks and everything else. But they didn't turn, they didn't go crooked. But they went in a straight line. Because that is the shortest way the shortest way between two lines is 2 points is one line, one straight line. So the officer of the Pelishtim went after them. Because if they went before, and let's say that the Sinai Pelishtim were in front of the cows, well, that wouldn't be a miracle, right? Because the cows are just going to follow their masters. But if they're walking in the back and following the cows, that's the miracle. That's one of the miracles that happens too. Right, so I just said that. And they go on to the Gvul of Beit Shemesh. Fine. So that was a lot of testing, a lot of showing that Hashem is in charge. So everybody's now becoming satisfied that this is from God. Okay, so then it says, Beit Shemesh kotrim kitzir chitim ve'emek. Now in Beit Shemesh, they were reaping the wheat harvest in the valley. V'yisu et Naham, and they lifted their eyes. V'yiru et Aaron, and they saw the Aaron. V'yismechul l'ra'ot, and they rejoiced to see it. So here you have the people who are doing work. And it says Beit Shemesh. Okay. Oh, we didn't get there yet. Okay. So Beit Shemesh. I'm sorry, we did. So Malbim explains Sefer. Ki Beit Shemesh hayu oskim az bekatzer hachitim vayeroy sheyatzu likrad Aaron kablo nahalno b'chvod v'gil. So since the people were outside and they were taking care of their wheat harvest, when they saw the ark, what would have been proper, what would have been for them to go to the ark, to receive it, to drive it in honor and enjoyment. So now when they lifted their eyes and they saw the ark and they were happy to see it, it's true they rejoiced, but they didn't rejoice properly, right? Because they, namely the Simcha Shal Mitzvah, with the rejoicing of a mitzvah, to leave their work and to bring it to the place of their teaching. רק השמחה היה לראות, כשמח על דבר חדש, מפליא עיני רואים. But rather, it was a simcha of not seeing something for, it's a new thing. Yeah, I saw a new thing. Very nice. And that's why Hashem gets angry at them. They should have ran to it. They should have left their work. They should have gone to get it. And what happens? They look up and say, oh, Baruch Hashem, we have an ark. But they don't stop their work. Right. The other interesting thing about this, I said this in the other class too, is life didn't stop. Okay, the ark was taken away. Think about this. The ark is taken away. You would have thought there was national mourning. People are sitting there and crying and doing teshuvah and so on and so forth. And what happens? People say, okay, the ark's gone. What can I do? Go back to work. We have to still eat. We have to do all these things. It seems that there was no national mourning about the loss of their ark. And again, when they get it back, when they see it coming back on its own, they also don't think, oh, well, I guess I should leave and bring it back because, for whatever. There's no concept like that.
And it was still at Shiloh, the Mishkan? That was it.
Right. Yeah. But again, there seems to be no recognition that, something should be changed. And we don't have to do tshuvas. I mean, that's why Hashem would I could see Hashem becoming angry over that because there's no seemingly charatas or regret for what happened.
I'm just trying to visualize, like, let's say the United States with the revolution, so then we had the Constitution that was kind of enshrined wherever they kept it. Then you had the War of 1812 where the British invaded again. I mean, what would we have done if they had swiped our the actual Constitution? We'd get mad, right?
I don't know. I mean, they swiped our Constitution already.
But the country would keep going, right? I don't know.
So yeah, that's my point. I think that, because you can see today with those constitutionalists that we have out there, that they're the only ones who are really crying about our lost rights. Right? Nobody else cries about our lost rights. Our freedom to assemble. We don't have a freedom to assemble. We have to have a, what do you call it? The piece of paper.
Amendment.
No. To assemble, I have to ask the government for the permission to assemble.
Permit?
Permit. I have to have a permit. That wasn't the original part of that. The original thing was I can assemble. I can assemble, period. Freedom of speech. That doesn't mean hate speech. We understood. That was another thing. When we said freedom of speech, we understood what those words meant. We didn't have to keep defining them. Okay, it doesn't mean that I can go into a theater and say fire. That's not my freedom. I can't say these people should die. That's not freedom of speech. It doesn't fall under that category. But all these things that they're claiming. The constitutionalists today are claiming that we no longer have a constitution. It was basically null and void years ago because nobody's following it, nobody knows what it says. So if that's the case, then you're seeing the same sort of thing. We created something and we lost it and we just go on with life. So here, the same thing. The Jews were told to make an ark and to have it in the Mishkan and don't take it out for the Mishkan. They took it out for the Mishkan. They thought it would save them, and it didn't save them. It was thus captured in war. Then it's become sent back. It would be, it would be interesting if we all know that Titus took the menorah. Yeah. It's on the Arch of Titus. Now, what would happen if suddenly we got the menorah back? We would say, okay, great. There wouldn't be any national recognition.
What, back then or now, you mean?
Now. Even now. We'll put in a museum.
At the...
no, but that's what I'm saying. We put in a museum. We wouldn't do anything.
The political state of Israel today is not the state that existed...
Yeah, but I'm saying that would be true. That would be total evidence of what we're trying to say. Okay, here it is. All arguments. So let's say we would get the ark back.
Yeah.
Let's say that whoever has the ark, may it be in the Raiders of the Ark type thing, where it's in the Pentagon and the box saying don't open until whatever, or it could be in the it could be in the Vatican, where they stole so many other things from different cultures. So maybe it's there. Who knows where it is? Maybe it really is deep in the ground.
The Catholic sect in Ethiopia, or whatever, the Eastern Orthodox. They said, we've got it.
Okay, whatever the case is going to be. Let's say, but I'm saying, let's say that would come out and we would identify this as a real ark. What would it change anything for us? The answer is no. We wouldn't appreciate it. The sun's out. We wouldn't appreciate it. It would just be something else, and that's what Hashem would say. What are you doing? Yeah. You've been waiting for 2,000 years, 3,000 years, whatever, for this to show up, and here it is. What are we going to do when Mashiach comes? Well, tell me, it's a wrong kippah. That's all. We're not going to appreciate it. That's what I'm saying. That's part of his job, to make us appreciate him. But it's that seems to be what's going on here. This wasn't very long, mind you. This was a few months. And they're not doing anything, which seemingly means they didn't have a real connection to it. So, like I said, there's a lot you can remember, we're seeing headlines, so you have to go behind the headlines and try to get into the emotional status of these people and say, why aren't you getting excited here? The ark is coming home, and on top of that, by the way, you only have Sarnei Pelishtim behind it. So is it a trap? There's another thing they should have been thinking. Is this a trap? Where's the rest of the army? Why are they bringing it home? What happened? What are these hemorrhoids doing here? What are the golden mice meaning? They didn't even question these things. What's the side? What's the box? What kind of mishigas is this? But okay, fine. So v'hagala ba. So we go on. 14. V'hagala ba el sadei Yeshua. Be'er Shimshi. And so now the wagon came to the field of Yeshua at the Beit Shemesh, he says it. Okay, right. Person of Beit Shemesh, V'tamot Sham, stayed there. V'sham Evan Gandola, and there was a big stone. V'yabaku Eratzei Ha'agala, and they split the wood. They had a parot, and the cows, Helu Ola La'ola. They took the cows and they put it up as an Ola offering. So they decided to do something with that, fine. And so the Malbim says, Yagalat lechein, lo amdu aparod gamata hu avaya od nes. And therefore, it says that the wagons came, and therefore the cows did not stay there. Even now, this was also a miracle. Why? Because now they turned from the way and it went into the field. Sha'amdu b'sada, now it stood in the field of Yoshua, the person of Beit Shemesh, and the reason is because there was a big stone there. And that was set there as, again, part of God's supervision for the ark to be placed there. V'yabaku Sarei Pelishtim. So now who is offering the cow? This is interesting. Malbim says, the Sarei Pelishtim, Baku Atsu Eitza Hagaleh. It's the officers of the Pelishtim who split the wood of the wagon and brought up, which means they commanded to burn the parot. They're the ones who offered the sacrifice, or commanded that the sacrifice be brought up. Because certainly the people of Beit Shemesh didn't do it by themselves, and without the knowledge of the officers, because the ark and the wagon and the cows were theirs. So what the Malbim is saying right away is, it wasn't that it came into Israel, and then the Jews saw it, and they decided they're going to break the wagon up and then offer the cows. What the Malbim says is the Sarnei Pelishtim, the Sarnei Pelishtim who instructed the Jews to do this. Because why would the Jews do it? It's making another war, right? Because it's still under the thumb of the Pelishtim. So you're going to wait until you see what, and they saw them behind them. So you have to say, okay, what do you want to do with these things? Are you just parading? Which is another thing, by the way. Let's put that back into the cycle, into the picture. Here I am in the field, reaping my field. And I suddenly see the ark coming back. And it's on a wagon. Fine, it's on the wagon, it's coming back. And I see the Sarni Pelishtim behind it. Well, by the way, should I do Kriya or should I be upset? Because the enemy has my ark and they're parading it around? Or should I be happy just to see it again?
Well,
you hear what I'm saying? You hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Since the Jews had taken that to help them in battle, in your mind you would think this is another invasion.
Right. So now the question goes: why are they happy? Why are they happy? Are they just happy because they're finally being able to see their lost ark, but they're not running because they don't want to get themselves too excited? Again, there's a whole bunch of emotion here. Yeah, we're going to say, I'm sorry?
Well, you don't know why they're coming yet with it.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't know why they're coming, but you see your ark. So what should they do? In other words, what should their reaction be? Should they run up to say, oh, Baruch Hashem is back and so on and so forth? But they don't know it's back. It could be that they're just parading it through the Jews to mock the Jews. I mean, what's the best way to really defeat or hurt the enemy?
Well,
not the enemy, the captured people.
They're marching. They have a contingent marching with it, whatever, carrying it. And you're just a bunch of guys working out in the field. You don't have any weapons. I'm assuming to defend.
Right.
To try to take it. So
right. So the question is,
wait and see what they're going to do.
Right. So now, but I'm saying the question I'm asking is, they're happy. The Jews are happy when they see it. Yeah. The question is, why are they happy? Because they could have been thinking, one, if they're happy, why aren't they going out to it? Yeah. Number two. If I would think that if I have to think like a captive. So if I'm a captive of the governing army, so then when they're parading my stuff around, I'll give an example. My wife's grandmother went back to Hungary. I think that's where she comes from. Romania, Hungary. They're not close. Wherever she came from, I think Hungary. And she saw her old house. She went back to her old house, okay, with her kids. So we're talking many years have passed. Wow. And she went into her, and the people, she said, I used to live here. Do you mind if I see the house? I did memories, fine. They let her in. And she said to the kids, you see those curtains? They're my mother's. See that? That's my mother's. That was my father's. They didn't throw anything away. They kept everything. They just took the house over and used everything.
How long ago was this?
She went maybe 20 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, they had good stuff. So, you have gold, silver candlesticks. You're not going to throw them away. Wow. So, but the point is, they just used them, and they just took over. Now, Walker, my wife's grandmother said, "Give me that, cause it's mine." You can't do that. You have no way to prove it. Okay, so what she can do is she can see it, but she can only see it from a distance. Is that how these people felt? I can't do anything. I can't say anything because it's only I can rejoice in seeing. I can say that was our ark, and Baruch Hashem has come back. But again, I'm not going to run out to it. Just like my grandmother's. Well, I'll say it would be easy to say my grandmother. Just as my grandmother would not have gone to say, "Hey, you know what, Mister? That was my mother's. I'd like to have her back." You can't do that.
Throw you out.
Throw me out.
Like you've said many times, when you open this up with the Malcolm and all these texts and you interpret the words,
right?
It's like you're watching a movie. It just comes to life. This is a really nice presentation of emotions when you're bewildered. Mm-hmm. You're just absolutely confused, and you have mixed. You're joyous, but you're fearful.
Right.
You become stuck in the place where you're standing.
Mm-hmm.
You are so dumbfounded you can't move. Your body just freezes up on you. And so you don't know what to do.
Which becomes the question: why does Hashem get angry at us? Why are you getting angry? I don't know what you want from me. You know, that becomes the other part of the question. You wanted me to come and rejoice right away when I saw the ark. Well, I don't know what that means. I have the army behind me, that's following the ark, which means something's going on. And now on top of that, even worse, you're confusing me more, because now these Sarnei policemen are telling you, break apart that wagon, make basically an altar, and bring up the cows that are pulling that thing on an altar. So why are you doing that? Okay.
And the police are so taken just from having this thing for a short period of time. They've come to realize its connection, its power.
Correct.
And they're doing the right thing.
Right.
It's interesting. This is the way life is. This is
that's what I'm saying.
Behave.
Right. So it's a very
complicated psychology.
Right. So it's a very interesting situation that we're presenting here. So now the next verse says, "V'Levim and the Levites horidu et Aaron Hashem." They took down the Aaron of Hashem, et argaz ashrito, and the box that was with it. A shibo klei zahav, that had in it the golden vessels, v'yasimu et el ha'even ha'gedola, and they placed them on the huge stone. V'anshe Beit Shemesh, and the men of Beit Shemesh, helu olot. Now they brought up totally burnt offerings, v'yizbechu zivachem b'yomahu la'Hashem, and they offered sacrifices on that day to Hashem. Okay, so now the Jews are waking up. And that's so the Malbim says the Levim heim asku b'harato. The Levim are the ones who were dealing with bringing the ark down, and the men of Beit Shemesh aim zav chutz zevachim acherim vayomahu chutz min aparot sivo sranim lakrev. So the men of Beit Shemesh, they brought in sacrifices besides that which the officers of the police had instructed. So, like I said, now they seemingly are getting out of their amazement, right? So v'chamisha sarnei pelishtim, and now the 5 officers of the pelishtim ra'u saw. What the question is what they see. Okay, vayashuvu Ekron v'yomahu, and they returned to Ekron on that day. So what happened there? It says v'chamisha and 5 gam zeh hayapela. This also, according to the Malvim, is a wondrous event. Saranim, that the officers Shagam akvu sham ad sharau kol ha'maseh, that here they waited until they saw all of the events. Mehakravat parod ve'azvachem b'kol zeh, the bring of the cows and the sacrifices. And then Shavu Ekron b'yom, they returned to Ekron that day. But often Shabau Echad Halchu, in the manner that on one day they came. They went back on the same way. Imma Shishahu Beit Shemesh, along with that which they stayed in Beit Shemesh. So apparently that also was a wonder. The biggest wonder is that they left, right? And what should have happened? 2 things could have happened to the Sarnei Pelishtim. They could have either converted, and so this guy is just too powerful. Let's jump on and by the way, that's when people normally convert. Okay, if you look in the story of Purim, so when do people want to convert to Judaism? When Mordechai becomes a replacement for Haman, right? When Haman's plots are destroyed, and Mordechai takes over, so now the Jews are in power. The Jews are very powerful at that point. So then all the non-Jews want to join the winning team. Yeah. So here also you would think that the Sarnei Pelishtim, who saw all of these miracles, would say, you know what, I think we should convert. I think we should become part. And yet they don't. They return, go back to where they came from. It shows you also an interesting about human behavior, that even if I prove to you that I'm right and you're wrong, if you will, or that I'm going to win this time, by logic you should jump on my side. and then you decide, no, you know what, I have a better, I'd rather do what I'm doing, and I'll just leave. But it's good, I gave you back what you wanted. But it's like I said, it's an interesting concept there. Does he say anything? No. Okay. So now let's go on. Ve'ela techorei hazahav asher heishivu pelishtim asham l'Hashem, and these were the 5 golden hemorrhoids that the Pelishtim returned or sent back as a guilt offering to Hashem. La'ashdod echad, la'alza echad, la'ashkelon echad, l'gad echad, l'ekron echad. 1 for each place, namely Ashdod, Az, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gat, and Ekron. There was a hemorrhoid for each place that was plagued. V'akvarei zahav mispar kol arei pelishtim v'chamish shranim, and the golden mice according to the number of the cities of the Pelishtim for the 5 officers. Me'ir mivsar v'ad kofer hapriz v'ad avel gedola from the village, an open village, from fortified city to open village, and even to the great stone upon Shir Nichwale Ed Aron Hashem, even the great stone upon which they had placed the Ark of Hashem. Until this very day, B'stei Yeshua Beit Hashimshi, and until this very day in the field of Yeshua, Beit Shemesh. So Malbim says, "Ve'el techori hazahab ha'techorim," these hemorrhoids, she'avila saranim hayu chamisha. We talked about this before, that the officers that brought this number was like the number of the number of the hemorrhoids was like the number of the officers of Pelishtim, like we said above. Aval hagvarim sheba'u ba'avor ha'am, but the mice that were brought on behalf of the nation, hagam shlefi shetzivoy kohanim hayadai gam kem chamisha k'nis le'el kol zeh. It's like, again, what we explained above, that it would be enough for the 5 cities. Hosifu ve'eviu, they added and they brought akvarei zahav mispar kol arei pelishtim. So they also brought these golden mice for the amount of cities that they had. Shar'am hitnadvu ba'atzom. So now the nation by itself offered on their own behalf, called ir hanidavad akvar echad, that each city gave a mouse, each one of the 5 cities. V'lo levad ir mivsar, not only the open city, ki gam ad kfar praz. I'm sorry, the other way. Not only the close cities, but also the open cities. Shekam kfar parazim heviu ad avel hagdola. They also brought until the great stone. Shesham gavul eretz Yisrael. Okay, fine. So everybody, they jumped on the bandwagon. So if you think about it, you must have 15 gold pieces coming back with the ark. If we have the count right. Okay, so now what happens? Vayach b'anshei Beit Shemesh. So now the men of Beit Shemesh were smitten. Okay, why? Kira ba'aron Hashem, because they saw the Aron of Hashem, the Ark of Hashem. V'yach ba'am shivim ish. 70 men were killed. 50,000 ish. Oh, it's interesting. He says 70 men were killed, and then 50,000 were killed. So altogether 57,000. So the nation mourned because Hashem had made such a major calamity. So let's see what happens here. Malvim explains. So Hashem killed the men of Anshe of Beit Shemesh because they looked at the ark. Re'iyah she'acharav b'mora al hashgacha ve'fala'ah b'davar hashgalav b'mahomto. Okay, so it's teaching that 2 things about the wondrous. I said hashgacha. Sorry, hasagta. Okay, and that they came to it as a wondrous thing. So why? Because he saw their sivlatam is burdens. Their burdens, and all these things that were the things were coming on him. But don't see my badness, fine. They looked at it more than they should have. Because of the lack of trepidation and lack of kavod. So that was their mistake. Okay, yeah.
It's Indiana Jones right out of here.
Indiana Jones. There you
Right
go.
out of there.
There you go. Sefer ki hika b'anshe beit shemesh. Because what happens? Why did he kill them? Because they looked at it as a derech bizayon, in a non-covetic manner, a despicable manner. So he hit the nation. B'yeter am shehit kapsul l'sham min sivot. From all around, they gathered to come there. So from Beit Shemesh, they killed 70 people. But from all the people who assembled around, so altogether 50,000. So it was 70 from Beit Shemesh, because Beit Shemesh is not such a big place to hold 57,000 people apparently. But from around the area that they all assembled, that was 50,000. And why did the Malbim have to separate that? Because the numbers aren't normally written like that. Okay, so that's why he's separating that. Our rabbis say, and so the rabbis say, really 57,000 people were not killed. Really, it was only 70 people who were killed, but those 70 people were equal to 50,000 people. Why? Because of their Torah learning. That's normally how they would combine it. V'nira shebechlal kibbutz Shammai 50,000 ish metu mehem 70 ish. And it appears that also included in this gathering of that there were 50,000 people, that 70 people killed. Okay, so odu yach 70 ish 50,000 ish. And this measurement would have been that they killed 70 out of 50,000 people. Ki mem, because the mem mei chamishim is hayachas nofel pamim harbe kmo Elchanan David Beit Lechem. Okay, so he's saying comparison. And if you take away the mem, so then is teaching that everybody would be distressed over the death of their brothers. And so then it would feel as if they were all stricken. By the way, you see this also from this, what we call this survivor's guilt. Right? That's what they call survivor's guilt? Yeah. Survivor's guilt, and that they say, why wasn't it me who was killed? Mm-hmm. Right? So here you have these people, and this last explanation, we'll have to stop here, but that last explanation was that the people, it was 70 out of 50,000 because they didn't a derech b'zayom. So why were they, why only pick on these 70 versus us? And that is, again, they would all be crying about that. Mm-hmm. So we'll stop there.